The forest has swallowed its own voice, complete. Crushing silence. It is a sudden, unnatural vacuum that descends upon the choked, hyper-humid lowlands, a void where only moments before the air vibrated, with the frantic buzzing of prehistoric insects and the calls of hidden avian ancestors. This is the predator drop. The barometric pressure seems to plummet, the air itself growing heavy, viscous, and suffocating beneath a bruising, leaden, overcast sky that refuses to break. Press your belly to the wet earth. Down here, in the dark, rotting underbrush, the mud is freezing. It is a conductive matrix of slick, black, viscous silt and shallow, stagnant water, perfectly engineered by the indifferent earth to transmit every kinetic vibration. Do you feel that? A rhythm pulsing through the dark water, the surface of a puddle trapped within an ancient fossilized depression shivers. Concentric rings of kinetic energy radiate outward, dancing across the suspended silt thud. The light dies as a walking mountain blocks out the sun. You cannot see the jaws. You only hear the heavy, humid air being violently pushed aside by a shifting mass of muscle and bone. The mud vibrates into your very bones. Be small. Be completely nothing, or be consumed.
Is the sunken floodplain a realm of perpetual decay and aggressive regrowth, where the cycle of life and death is etched into the very topography. The ground is a treacherous sponge of decomposing cycad fronds, crushed ferns, and anaerobic mud that smells sharply of sulfur and ancient rot. In this suffocating microcosm, absolute stillness is the only currency of survival. Pressed millimeter flat against the freezing muck lies a solitary hatchling. It is a fragile framework of hollow bones and trembling muscle, covered in a sparse coat of downy proto-feathers that are currently plastered to its translucent skin by the dampness of the earth. It is entirely defenseless, a microscopic entity in a theater designed for giants. The hatchling's wide, unblinking eyes are fixed on the ground ahead, its vision restricted to a terrifyingly shallow depth of field. To lift its head is to invite the scythe. It breathes in microscopic, hyperventilating wheezes, its tiny ribcage vibrating against the cold mud. A frantic counter-rhythm to the slow, apocalyptic drumbeat approaching from the mist. The sheer scale of the environment marks its fragility. The rotting logs tower like fallen monoliths. The ferns form an impenetrable canopy of green shadows. And the earth itself feels alive, reacting to the immense forces moving across its skin.
The interval between the seismic impacts grows shorter. With every thud, the sheer kinetic force travels through the liquid silt. A localized earthquake that reverberates up through the hatchling's sternum and into its skull. It is a physical assault of low-frequency sound. An infrasound rumble that bypasses the ears and registers directly in the gut as pure primal terror. The physics of the floodplain amplify the dread. The water in the shallow puddles violently agitates, bubbling and frothing with the displaced energy. The air grows incredibly heavy, thick with the metallic scent of ozone and the rancid, hot copper reek of digested blood. It is the breath of the apex, carried on an unnatural wind that precedes the physical form. The unseen giant is navigating the dense undergrowth, its multi-ton biomechanical structure shifting with terrifying grace. You can hear the immense friction of heavily keratinized scales scraping against ancient bark, a sound like grinding stone. You can hear the wet, tearing sound of massive root systems giving way under incalculable weight. The hatchling's autonomic nervous system takes over, locking its tiny muscles into a rigid state of tonic immobility. Its heart rate skyrockets to an unsustainable blur, a frantic fluttering that feels as though it might shatter its own ribs. Yet outwardly it is indistinguishable from the rotting debris it hides within. The shadow deepens. The ambient light of the overcast sky is entirely snuffed out, replaced by a suffocating eclipse of scarred, charcoal-colored flesh. The climax of the encounter does not arrive with a roar, but with a deafening wet squelch. A massive three-toed foot, wrapped in thick reptilian leather and tipped with blunt, earth-shattering claws, presses into the muck, mere inches out of the hatchling's immediate frame of focus. The sheer volume of displaced mud surges outward in a miniature viscous tsunami, washing over the hatchling's trembling tail. The ground compresses violently, forcing trapped subterranean gases to the surface in a chorus of bubbling hisses. The sheer heat radiating from the beast's immense circulatory system creates a localized microclimate, a wave of oppressive, rancid warmth that clashes violently with the freezing mud. As the colossal foot shifts its weight, adjusting its balance, the thick tendons crack and groan like straining timber. Then the foot lifts, the suction created by the removal of the appendage is a violent, tearing vacuum. A violent hot vortex of displaced air rips across the underbrush, twisting the decaying cycad fronds and tearing loose the hatchling's delicate downy feathers, sending them swirling into the dark, turbulent wake. For a fraction of a second, the hatchling is exposed, its camouflage compromised by the sheer physical disruption of the air. It shuts its eyes, burying its snout into the suffocating, anaerobic black mud, waiting for the inevitable snap of jaws. The crushing weight of oblivion.
But the oblivion simply walks past the next seismic impact, lands further away. The thud is marginally softer. The kinetic vibration a fraction less violent. The shadow a suffocating blanket of moving architecture. Slowly slides off the micro-landscape, allowing the bruised, leaden light of the overcast sky to bleed back into the underbrush. The hatchling does not move. The agonizingly slow retreat of the Tremors is a masterclass in psychological torture. Long after the physical danger has passed, the ringing silence left in the wake of the apex mass remains. The mud, displaced and violently churned, slowly oozes back upon itself, gravity reclaiming the fresh crater left by the giant's footstep. The localized vortex of air dissipates, leaving the torn ferns to settle gently against the wet earth. The hatchling remains paralyzed, locked in its state of desperate sustained stillness. Its lungs burn for oxygen. Its muscles ache from the lactic acid buildup of pure terror. Yet the primal instinct to remain invisible overrides every other biological need. The forest remains suspended in the predator drop. The surrounding ecosystem too traumatized by the passage of the walking mountain to resume its normal rhythms. It is an agonizing wait in a purgatory of mud and shadows. A testament to the sheer, exhausting cost of survival in a world that views you as nothing more than a potential calorie.
This is the eternal, indifferent cycle of the Cretaceous Earth. There is no malice in the passing shadow, no cruelty in the heavy footfall that narrowly missed obliterating a life. It is merely the physics of the floodplain, the cold mechanics of a prehistoric ecosystem functioning exactly as designed. Survival here is rarely a victory of strength, cunning, or willpower. More often than not, it is the sheer, dumb luck of being too small to be noticed by the walking gods that shape the world. The Earth Witness observes this cycle with a detached reverence. The mud remembers nothing of the terror it just conducted. The bruised sky sheds no tears for the fragile things trembling below. As the first heavy drops of freezing rain finally begin to fall, shattering the surface of the stagnant puddles and washing the scent of the apex from the air, the hatchling finally takes a slow, shuddering breath. It blinks mud from its eyes, a microscopic survivor in a vast, uncaring wilderness. The deep time continues its slow, violent march forward, indifferent to the tiny hearts that beat